I recently received a comment on one of my posts talking about why the use of the term cheat meal can be potentially harmful. And in this post, I was using a donut as an example. Now, here's the reply. They said, an article based on a study proved that a bad diet is worse for your health than cigarettes. Okay, and then provided a link to the study. Perhaps you shouldn't be advocating this message. All right, now his argument seems to be that we shouldn't be encouraging consumption of nutrient-devoid foods in any capacity because it is worse for your health than cigarettes. And I was like, okay, oh my God, this is a bold claim. And if that is actually the case, if that is actually supported by sound research, we should think about changing our practical recommendations to the general public. So I pulled up the study. This one is, it was published in 2019. It is a systematic analysis for the Global Burden of Disease study looking at 195 different countries. Impressive, okay. I read through the paper. Now I'm specifically looking for where it says one donut is worse for your health than smoking cigarettes, okay? I am not seeing this anywhere. The findings do say high intake of sodium, low intake of whole grains, low intake of fruits were the leading dietary risk factors for deaths and disability adjusted life years. Right. Okay, now I'm looking for where it says eating the occasional donut means that your fruit and vegetable and otherwise nutrient-dense food consumption sucks. And I'm not seeing that here, which is a bit odd given what this user said. So I specifically asked this person, what constitutes a bad diet? What do they define in the study as a bad diet? Of course, he didn't actually directly answer that question and kept going on about how bad diet is so terrible for you and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you can't assess the quality of someone's overall diet based on one food in isolation. So if I consume one donut or two donuts in a day, but everything else I eat is nutrient-rich, nutrient-dense, is that a bad diet? Versus a diet filled with nothing but donuts and chips and cookies and pizza and deep fried foods. That's probably not going to be ideal, but I'm not seeing anyone recommending that kind of diet. I'm certainly not doing it. Restrictive diets are more likely to backfire in the long run. If you have a more rigid mentality towards foods, you are more likely to experience eating disorder symptoms and behaviors, including binge eating, neurosis, obsession, guilt, anxiety, depression. And ironically, he cites my own quote, there's a lot more to health than nutrients alone, and then says, you got that part right though. Yeah, I did, but you didn't. And finally, he comes back with this gem. Stick to fitness, let the professionals handle dietary advice. Now, I don't like using appeal to authority to try to win arguments because it is a logical fallacy. You should be relying on sound evidence to support your points and not resort to titles and qualifications, things like that. But since he went that route, I am a certified sports nutritionist. I have done my master's degree in the psychology of eating behavior, studying exactly this type of thing. Not only that, but I quite literally study this kind of stuff as part of my career. If he wants to say, let the professionals handle dietary advice, yeah, maybe I agree. In any case, hopefully this gives you guys an idea of how sometimes people can, even if they are citing research, they might take a small kernel of truth from that and then inflate the conclusions or use it to support their biases, even when the research doesn't actually say what they're saying. So no, I am not saying eat nothing but donuts all day long. Eating a donut does not mean that you are not eating fruits and vegetables. You can do both. And this is a classic example of missing the forest for the trees.